The views and opinions expressed by the guest author or speaker during this live session are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Reader's Magnet. The content shared is for informational purposes only and does not constitute endorsement or promotion of any particular belief, ideology, or product.
Hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers. Welcome to another awesome day here at RM Hive. You're tuning in to Reader's Magnet's featured author interview, and I'm your host, Revan, and our featured guest today is the author of The Theory of the Naked Truth of Allah, Muhammad, and the Quran. Let's welcome Dr. Wequar Azeem. Hi, Wequar. How are you? Thank you for joining us here at
Hi,
Reader's Magnet.
thank you. I'm glad to use them and I'm very happy with their service too.
Yes, and we are also honored to have you here. And by the way, speaking of this book, The Theory of the Naked Truth of Allah, Muhammad, and the Quran, what prompted you to research and unearth the real facts related to Prophet Muhammad and the divine revelations put together by him as Quran?
Well, let me begin by saying that my objective and the sole
Mhm,
intent was to reveal the truth,
mhm,
not to denigrate or promote any faith, any religion, not at
mhm,
all. The whole idea was to let people know what the
mhm,
truth is. And I worked for years to find that out. Now, what prompted me to do this is goes back about 45 years. In
mhm,
1980, I went to Mecca and Medina to perform Hajj.
mhm,
You know what that is. It's an annual ritual that people go to Mecca to go around the Kaaba 7 times, and there are associated rituals with it, and
mhm,
that is called Hajj. And Hajj is compulsory once in a lifetime, provided you have extra funds after meeting all your necessary necessities that you can spend to perform the Hajj. Only then it is fard for you, meaning compulsory for you, but only once in a lifetime. If you have money to spare, you go on every year for 3 years, it's up to you.
mhm,
But once in lifetime, provided you have the financial ability to do it after
mhm,
meeting your necessary expenses, Hajj is a duty. Anyway,
mhm,
during the Hajj, while doing the different formalities and edicts of the associated with Hajj, an idea occurred to me as to how come, because in the Muslim faith, there have been 124,000 different messengers of Allah, the Almighty.
mhm,
He sent them from time to time, for instance, from Abraham and Jacob and Yusuf, Joseph, as we call him, or David or Noah,
mhm,
etc., up to Jesus, and then finally Prophet Muhammad.
mhm,
There have been, according to their belief, 124,000 messengers of God or prophets of
mhm,
God. Now, my idea that occurred to me as to why is it necessary? God, Allah is supposed to be omnipotent, omniscient,
mhm.
omnipresent. He is
True.
powerful. He is the creator of creation itself. How come he has to depend on the agency of another human being to convey his messages to his creator? We are all supposed to be his creators, but
Mhm,
he cannot tell us anything directly. In my mind, if I were the God, Allah, I would have shout out and tell everybody that, listen, these are the things I want you to do, and these
mhm,
are the things I don't want you to do. Otherwise, you will be punished. If you do what
mhm,
I am telling you to do, you will be rewarded. But and everybody could hear it in their own vernacular, in their own mother tongue,
mhm,
without any problem. But God doesn't seem to have that much power in him. He's
mhm,
so powerless and helpless that he has to depend on the representation of a human being whom we call a prophet or a messenger. How
mhm,
come? So that started the disbelief in his almightiness, in his powers. That if an entity cannot even do this, how can we call him the sole creator of the entire universe, that he's supposed to know everything that we are thinking about. He is also in our mind, in our head, in our um, heart, and knows what we need to do, what we want to do. There is nothing that is hidden from him. He
Mhm.
has the control over all knowledge, and yet he cannot deal with his creations directly. He has to have the help of a human being. Now that set me thinking. I said, what else is lacking in this belief system, in this concept? And that is why I was going into the hard work of research. It took me
Mhm.
more than 40 years. I have been to almost all relevant universities,
Mhm.
libraries, museums, private collections, collecting data, because what Islam says, that is taught in the schools, colleges, and universities in the entire
Mhm.
Muslim world. But what are the other people talking about it? If there is any confirmation from them, I'm looking for validation, cross corrections, etc. And in doing so, I discovered so many facts that you don't find in Muslim authors, history, in the historians who happen to be Muslims. What they
Mhm.
produced is called hagiography, meaning
Mhm.
fabricated, decorated, uh, artificial stories only to support their narrative that Islam is a divinely conveyed religion and that
Mhm.
Muhammad was a divinely ordained prophet.
Mhm.
And the messages received by Muhammad were through Archangel Gabriel. He would come every now and then over uh, 22 years, because Muhammad was declared to be an divinely ordained prophet in
Mhm.
610 current era, Christian era, or AD, whatever you call it. And
Mhm.
that continued until he died in 632. So, over a
Mhm.
period of 22 years, Gabriel is supposed to have come more than uh, 600 times,
Mhm.
bringing the verses of Quran piecemeal over 22 years. But during that entire 22-year period, Muhammad received the revelations while sitting surrounded by his companions called Sahaba, or Ashab is the plural of it. And
Mhm.
but nobody in those 22 years ever saw or heard Jibreel conveying the message to Muhammad. Muhammad would go in kind of a trance, and then he would come up and say, listen, Gabriel just came and delivered so and so message to me.
Mhm.
And that message uh, would be memorized by some of the Sahaba
Mhm.
as a holy collection, a holy asset for themselves. They would
Mhm.
memorize it. And they used to be called Hafiz. Hafiz means a memorizer.
Mhm.
Nowadays, a Hafiz means somebody who memorized the entire Quran. But during
Mhm.
his lifetime, if a Sahabi or Ashab, as I said, they heard it and memorized it, they have memorized about 3 lines or 4 lines of verses, but they would be called a Hafiz during his lifetime. And
Mhm.
that was the only way to keep the divine revelations in public mind, because Arabic at that time was a spoken lingo. It had not become a full-fledged literary language with rules of grammar and syntax and all that. It was just a
Mhm.
lingo. And Arabian Peninsula was a very large piece of land, about 1,300 miles from east to west and about 1,000 miles from north to south, a huge area.
Mhm.
And therefore, that area had Arabic in 24 different dialects, depending on the region. Now, the region around one particular dialect would understand each other. They were
Mhm.
understandable, but farther regions in the peninsula, they were not, they were unintelligible to each other because they had become so different. But it was called Arabic. Now, the word Arab means a
Mhm.
dweller of the desert. That is the real
Mm.
meaning from that time, a desert dweller. And
Dweller of desert.
yeah,
Okay.
and Arabic, which in English is called Arabic, is
Mm-hmm.
the lingo of the desert dwellers. That is what the meaning was.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's so
So,
interesting.
yeah, the divine revelations that Muhammad received or said that he received were obviously in his own native dialect, which is called Qurayshi dialect, the tribe that he belonged to.
Mm-hmm.
Muhammad belonged to a tribe called Quraysh in Mecca. So Meccans obviously spoke in their native dialect, which was Qurayshi dialect, one of
Mm-hmm.
out of the 24 different dialects. Now, this this was going on for 32 years. I'm sorry, 22 years from 610 to
Mm-hmm.
632. So that was the reason why I started probing and finding out
Mm-hmm.
um, any real history written by people who had no axe to grind, neutral people. But Muslims were mostly involved in the hagiography, not in historiography. That is how I started. That is an answer to you as to what prompted me to investigate and go into it. I spent 40 years researching and then another 4 years putting it together in a
Mm-hmm.
way that it makes a sensible narrative,
Yeah.
smooth flow of narrative. That was the answer to my first question.
Yes. That's actually very. I actually get interested now of the book because
Yeah,
you get the idea. There's a random idea when you went into Mecca, and then you had this idea, and it's actually very thought provoking, and it's making me curious more about Muhammad and the story behind everything that he had. And I'm also learning things from the first question. We said the first question. I'm already learning from you. So
yeah.
and Wequar, having those information you've gathered in those information, and how long did it take to unearth all the facts, and what are the details of your research project?
Well, the history taught in the Muslim world uh, in the Middle East, like Saudi Arabia these days, or United
Mm-hmm,
Arab Emirates, or Kuwait, or Bahrain, or Iraq. That was all Arabian Peninsula, part of Arabian Peninsula, where Islam originated in a small desert town called Mecca.
mm-hmm,
That is the place where Muhammad was born. He was born in 570 AD or CE,
mm-hmm,
whatever you call it. And he was illiterate. There was no schooling. Actually, there
mm-hmm,
were no formal schools at that time. About 95, 96% of the small population of tribal people, because there
mm-hmm,
were two kinds of tribals. One settled people, the other were nomads, because they would
mm-hmm,
go out in search of food for themselves and for the cattle and camels and sheep, so on. So that was the kind of life they had. There was no farming, no nothing. Only
mm-hmm,
oasis had little water surrounded by date trees and some olive trees in some cases, etc.
mm-hmm,
So that was a very hard life. People,
mm-hmm,
and Arabic itself was not a written language, it was a lingo in 24
mm-hmm,
dialects, as I said. But people living in more urbanized areas, big cities like Baghdad or
mm-hmm,
Damascus or Basra, there the tribal leaders were trying to find an script that would unite all the 24 dialects and they would
mm-hmm,
have a written language. Now, that effort was started 2 centuries before Muhammad was born, and it
mm-hmm,
continued for another 2 centuries after he died. So, in those 4 centuries, Arabic developed in an evolutionary process. So, when Muhammad was born and he was alive, during his time, Arabic language had started putting together a set of alphabets, and
mm-hmm,
they had 14 alphabets, and each alphabet represented several sounds,
mm-hmm,
not just one. As in English, for instance, each letter has a certain sound. R means
True.
this, or G means that, or L
Mhm,
represents that sound. But in
mhm,
Arabic, because they were short, they had only 14 alphabets during Muhammad's lifetime. So
mhm,
each alphabet represented several sounds. As a
mhm,
result, it caused a lot of confusion. If somebody would write something, he had a
mhm.
particular sound in mind, but the reader read the same letter for another sound because it was also
Yeah,
connected with that letter. So it was
true.
very confusing. But today, Arabic has 28 alphabets. It is
Yeah.
completed. And that completion happened 2 centuries after Muhammad had passed away.
Mhm,
Now we have Quran all over the world, throughout the entire Muslim world, but there was no written script. How did
mhm.
they
Yeah,
compile it? So that's
true.
another story. I have detailed that in the chapter for Quran.
Mm,
Likewise, what Muhammad did, how he went about putting together a new religion, and why he did it, that I have put under Muhammad. And the
mhm,
concept of Allah as an almighty God is now, of course, Muslims after Muhammad started claiming that uh, the God of Jews and God of Christians and God of Muslims is the
mhm,
same God. Of course, I had a different name. Uh, Jewish God was Yahweh, but they were
mhm,
not allowed to say it in vain. But they
huh,
could say it only in religious rituals. Otherwise, they would uh, write God or G dash D. They would
mhm,
utter the name of Almighty, their Almighty
mhm,
God. Yahweh. Like the Christians, of course, had no such this thing, but they
mhm,
had God and the Son God and the Holy
mhm.
Spirit. So it became Trinity. It was not
Yeah.
monotheist in the technical sense. And
Mhm,
then Muhammad came. He brought the concept of monotheism and that Allah is the
uh-huh.
only one. He had different names in different times, but He is the only God. And
Yeah.
anybody who attaches any of God's properties or powers to anything else is the biggest sin called shirk.
Mhm,
And if somebody committed shirk, uh, then he's no more a Muslim.
mhm,
And the punishment for that, after you accept Islam and then you do a thing like that and commit shirk, then you had to be beheaded or
mhm,
killed by stoning. So there were very strict rules only because they wanted to. Muhammad obviously wanted to make sure that the
mhm,
religion he's bringing about is made foolproof and uh, indefensible. I mean, nobody could question it. Otherwise, he would have to see the consequences, meet the consequences, which were no less than death.
mhm.
So that was the kind of thing. Uh, the question you raised was, please repeat it because I
Oh,
don't want to stray away.
so how long did it take to unearth all the
Oh,
facts? Yeah.
okay. It took me 4 decades, 40 years.
Oh,
I
so long.
traveled many times to Mecca, to Medina, other spots where Muhammad is supposed to have visited or addressed people many, many, many times.
Mhm,
From beginning in 1980, I have been to Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, uh, United Arab Emirates,
mhm,
Medina, Jeddah, Mosul in Iraq, Baghdad in Iraq. So throughout the Arabian, Middle Eastern countries, plus
mhm,
the very first Muslim university was created in North Africa by a Muslim woman. So I've been
mhm,
there. I've been to Al Azhar in Kuwait, in Egypt, in
mhm,
Cairo. The word for Cairo is Qahira in Arabic. And they have a lot of historical documents, manuscripts,
mhm,
handwritten notes. Uh, I went into the museums in Britain, in British Museum, in even in USA, in Library of Congress. A lot of
Mhm.
people have, and in the Vatican archives. So it was a 40 years journey going from one
Mhm.
place to another so many times. And that I was able to do because the business I was in cargo shipments or sea transportation of commercial goods,
Mhm.
uh, being imports and exports coming from Europe, different ports of Europe, to the west coast of Africa, east coast of Africa, to Southeast Asia, then up to Far
Mhm.
East. So I was a chartered shipbroker by profession.
Mhm.
And that helped me, facilitated me to go from place to place. Of course, it was connected with the shipping problem and shipping
Mhm.
crisis that I was supposed to handle. But that was the opportunity I had to go and visit the museum, to go and visit the library and see what kind of material I have, what I can borrow
Mhm.
from them. So that helped me to do my research, the shipping
Mhm.
business. I had to
Mm.
deal with all the major seaports of the world. As a
Mhm.
chartered shipbroker, I was sent out to put off the fire. There is
Mhm.
maybe a strike on the ship, the crew doesn't want to work, or there has been a fight or with the labor union, or there is a problem with port authorities in Rotterdam or Amsterdam or Oslo
Mhm.
or Helsinki, different ports of the Europe or East Africa or West Africa or South America, East Coast and West Coast, Atlantic Coast and Pacific Coast of America.
Mhm.
Same in Far East, Indonesia, Japan, Malaysia, Hong Kong, even Korea.
Mhm.
So, except North Korea, I have been to
Yeah.
almost every major seaport in the world and many times
Mhm.
over. And that was the
Mm.
golden opportunity for me to help me in my research because I was
Mhm.
there, company was paying for it, but I could go up to the library once or go to the museum, make more than one trip, make friends with them, and
Mhm.
people ask people to help me in my research. So people have been kind most of the time
Mhm.
because everybody, my mantra was that I want to find out the truth and I want to
Mhm.
reveal the truth for people. And
Mhm.
people wanted to help me. If you are going to, disclose the actual facts, why not? Muslims, of course, would not like anybody to come and say anything
Mhm.
which is not in character with the given character of Prophet Muhammad. They won't like it. I understand that. But my object was not to dishonor him or disrespect him. I just wanted people to know what the truth is. I want to leave behind my legacy as revelation of actual facts. That is what
Mhm.
my book is all about. 40
Mhm.
years, the world
40
over,
years.
that was the work of my research.
Yeah. It's like a personal adventure to like 40 years and then you went to this different seaports as well just to research. Such an amazing way to create the book. So the book is here already and it's immortalizing the idea as well. So going back to Muhammad Wequar, so Muhammad being what they say an illiterate person, how did he put together its basic faith, its religious edicts and religious laws relating to the daily and annual worship, social and community norms as Muslims?
Well, you have to know all about Muhammad, where he
Mhm.
was born, how he was born, how he was raised, who raised him, how did
Mhm.
he grow as a young man and then a middle-aged man and then died
Yeah.
as a young old man like 63. So
Mhm.
Muhammad was actually, he had lost his father even before he was born.
Mhm.
His father, Abdullah, had died few months before he was born. And his
Mhm.
mother also died when he was only 5, 6 years old.
Mm.
And first, he was being taken care of by his grandfather,
Mm.
paternal grandfather. But grandfather also died, uh, and his care was taken over by his uncle, his
Mhm.
father's brother. He raised him. So uh, it was not common for people to be literate at that time,
Mhm.
hardly anybody. And whoever was considered literate is the one person who could read and write Hebrew.
Mm.
Hebrew was the complete language, or the Syriac, or
Mhm.
the Greek language. So if anybody was considered literate, meaning he could read or write at least his name and signature in one of these three languages.
Mhm.
Arabic was not a written language anyway, so that was out of question at the time. So
Mhm.
Muhammad was illiterate even in those three languages. I mean, he didn't know any
Oh.
letters of any of those languages.
Mhm.
Now, there is no doubt, and history proves it, that he was an extremely smart, extremely intelligent, a
Mhm.
super genius with farsightedness. He could understand a complex problem in matter of seconds. That
Mhm.
was a gifted thing.
Yes, it's
Nature
an
had
amazing
gifted him
person.
extremely intelligent and very sharp and very quick to understand a single
Uh-huh.
person as well as a community. He
Mhm.
could handle it and he knew how to handle what. Not only that, there is another caliber that he had is to change the direction of the flow of events in a
Mhm.
way that it would produce results desired by him. That's a
Mhm.
great gift. He had that gift, how to make the flow of the events in such a way that it will eventually produce the result he was looking for.
Mhm.
That was a great gift he had, and he made full use of it to do this. Now, how he put together the entire infrastructure of a complete religion is the
Mhm.
question, I guess you're asking now. And that is, Muhammad started his life as the caretaker of camels that go in
Mhm.
trading caravans. So
Mm.
Muhammad's life started at 1214. His uncle employed him to take care of the camels laden with
Mhm.
commercial goods. So
Mhm.
wherever they made a stay, he would take care of them, clean them, feed them. You know,
Mhm.
that was his first job. But because he was so clever and so intelligent, he he kind of ascended in his
Mhm.
career at a very fast pace. He
Mhm.
became a trader himself, and he
Mm.
became an extraordinarily intelligent and successful trader. So, in course of his trading caravan experiences, he obviously had to go to many places with the caravan.
Mm.
And in the trading caravan, he also had people from the Jewish faith, from Christian faith, and some you will be surprised to know that Indian
Mhm.
traders would go by ship or
Mm.
boats to a port like Jeddah,
Huh.
and the caravans would go to Jeddah too. So there was interaction even with Hindus there. It was limited to that area, but he met people of all faiths in the Arabian Peninsula.
Mhm.
Now, at that time, Arabian Peninsula's most leading community was those of Jews. The
Mhm.
Jewish people, they were most well-to-do, they were most
Mhm.
organized, they had
Yes.
a very well-structured religion with a complete book, Torah, and they also have um their what you call stories written by rabbis over
Mhm.
centuries, a combination of that. So Talmud, that is called Talmud.
Mhm.
That is not word of God, but it's word of these
Mm.
rabbis who said
Uh-huh.
what is what and how it is to be done, etc. Now, uh, Muhammad came in touch with Jews, with Christians,
Mhm.
even with some Buddhists at the time,
Mhm.
because Buddhism was the big religion in Iran and parts of Afghanistan at that time.
Mhm.
So he came in touch with them. He came in with the Hindu Pandits also.
Mhm.
So he knew the details of Judaism. He knew
Mhm.
the details of Christianity, although Christianity had only developed two, three sects at that time. It was
Mhm.
not as huge as now. Over the last 15 centuries, Christianity also developed into many other schools of thought.
Mhm.
But at that time, it was not all that varied anyway. So, but Jews were looked upon as very respectable, highly qualified people. And they, of course, did not meet socially with non Jews so much. All their social activities were restricted to their own community, and others dare not even be invited there.
Mhm.
So they were looked down, they were looked up to as a people of a very much higher class.
Mhm.
And in hindsight, it seems Muhammad decided that he has to somehow impress the Jews to be able to impress everyone else.
Mhm.
So the only way to become attention worthy and to catch the attention of everyone, he decided that declaring yourself a prophet is no
Mhm.
problem. You don't have to prove it except that your word. So you have to build up your persona. So he became an expert on perception building because he was a very smart man.
Mhm.
And best perception building could be done if he decided that he is the one after Abraham and his progeny who God has selected to be the most glorified prophet of God.
Mhm.
And he declared one day that Gabriel came and broke the news to him when he was 40
Mhm.
years old, and he was praying in solitude in a cave called Hira. That is where he said Gabriel came and gave him the news. There is quite a story as to how it happened and how he became nervous, etc., which is given in detail in the book. But
Mhm.
anyway, his basic plan seems to be to outdo Jews in their own religious faith and
Mhm.
say that your faith was very right, and there was nothing wrong with it except that it's become old.
Mhm.
So God has sent me with new instructions, and I am uh, uh, an improvement on your faith,
Mhm.
and I'm improvement on Christianity also, because he
Mhm.
did not challenge Christianity or Judaism. He said it's the same faith, but I am the more glorified, more glorified than the uh, prophets they had. Christians, of course, called Jesus also the Son of God and God Himself. But other than that, Muslims believe Jesus was a prophet of God, of
Mhm.
Allah, and so was Abraham and Moses and so on. So he said, I'm the one who has come with the best model, the latest model, or the most
Mhm.
glorified model, and I am the person who has been chosen to do it. And what is the best way of doing it is to copy every
Mhm.
ritual of Jews. So he copied all the rituals of Jews, is including how you confess to become Islam, how you convert to Islam is called Shahada,
Mhm.
that which declares there is no God but God. In
Mhm.
English, it is, which is exact translation of what Jews say.
Mhm.
There is no God but God. They say it in Greek. He said it in Arabic. But because he had become so familiar with all the details, because he was probing and finding out more and more, more and more to build his religion based on the information and all the, what should I say, details he could find about the other religions. Now,
Mhm.
he kept Judaism as the major example for himself and copied it, but he also provided a lot of things that Christianity believed in, so that he could say this is also a better and more
Mhm.
modern model of Christianity, like Judaism. He borrowed
Mhm.
things from Hinduism. He borrowed things from Zoroastrianism. People
Mhm.
in Persia who uh, they did not worship fire. This is a misconception. Fire
Mhm.
temples, they call it, because they keep fire burning because
Mhm.
the flame represents the light of the Creator. That was the
Mhm.
idea, not worshipping the fire itself. Fire was just a symbol representing the light of Almighty. So
Mhm.
Zoroastrians believe in that, but they had a dual concept, like a coin with one side and the other side. That
Mhm.
one side was the good side of God,
Mhm.
Ahriman, Yazdan. Uh, that was the Zoroastrian's concept. So he kept a little bit of hook to
Mm.
hook people from Judaism, from Christianity, from Zoroastrianism, from Buddhism, from what you call mm, Jainism. There's another faith. So all these people, but the bulk of the thing came from Judaism, and he copied them. For instance,
Mm.
they have to pay religious tax called zakah in Arabic,
Mm.
and uh, um, Jewish faith also has to pay zakut, similar thing. Or you may have heard the call for prayers from the mosques is called adhan, uh, five daily prayers of Muslims that are performed in the mosque or masjid.
Mhm.
Somebody has to go up the minaret and call out this time, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. It's quite a
Mhm.
formula so that people hear it. Originally, there were no microphones, but now, of course, they have loudspeakers to do that.
Yeah.
But in those
Yes,
times,
again.
anybody with a loud voice and big volume of voice,
Mm.
Bilal was a slave who was freed eventually, Bilal Habshi. He was the first muezzin or the crier who would go on the minaret and say it's time for prayer. That thing was called adhan. That is a
Mhm.
copy from Jewish faith. Then Muslim boys also go through circumcision like the
Mhm.
Jewish boys have to do. Jewish boys have to do on the 10th day of their birth or
Mm.
8th day of their birth.
On the 10th
And it
day.
is, yeah, and that is done as a kind of agreement with God Almighty that from today
Mhm.
on, I become one of the chosen people. That is
Mhm.
the significance of circumcision in Judaism. And
Mhm.
Muslims do it because Muhammad said so. And Muhammad said so because he wanted Jewish to feel that it's the same thing, it's just a new model, more
Mhm.
improved and modern model. So that way, he copied many things. He said that uh, pork eating is haram, haram, banned,
Mhm.
like the Jews say.
Uh-huh.
They don't eat pork. Then Azan, we cry for prayer. Uh, Circumcision, they call it khatana. Uh,
Mhm.
then few other things like salam alaikum and shalom of Jews. He copied almost everything that he could. He picked up during his um trading caravans, all the bits of knowledge,
Mhm.
and he copied it and put Islam together by
Mhm.
copying that and including incorporating few things from Christianity, few things from
Mhm.
Zoroastrianism, so that he had a hook that, like the fish, you go and catch the hook and get hooked in and become a Muslim. That was
Mhm.
the whole purpose of it. So, despite being an illiterate person, he was a very smart person. He picked up all those things from his ac- personal observation over and over and over again over a period of many years, and that he incorporated and
Mhm.
introduced into Islam. That is how he
Yes.
put together, despite being an illiterate person.
Yes. And it actually interests me to know more about Muhammad, like going back to the 570 AD and then doing all of these things. And you are actually really good at talking because I actually imagine everything. Like there's like a lot of pictures and how you say it. So I'm also excited to read the book as well. And by the way, we're already past the time. So we're already running out of time. So I'm just going to give the spotlight to you. I need you to promote your book, where we can find it and where we can buy it and where we can find you as well.
Well, my entire intention was not to make a lot of money out of this.
Mm-hmm.
My I want to leave this book that you have in front on the screen now,
Mm-hmm.
that book as my legacy. So
Mm-hmm.
anybody who is seriously seeking truth, it's meant for serious seekers of truth. They should read it, whether you like it or not, but at least they will find out the truth. That
Mm-hmm.
is my intention. Making
Yeah.
money or selling a million copies, of course, they will give me income, but that's not my entire objective. My basic interest is let the world know what the truth is.
Yes.
Then they can decide. I'm not trying to
True.
denigrate or promote any particular faith because everybody has to defend their own faith.
Mm-hmm.
But this one is people cannot defend unless they know the facts involved. So that is my thing, to let the world know what the truth is behind these things, behind Allah, behind Muhammad, behind Quran. Let them know what the truth is. Somebody worked for more than 40 years and put it together for another 5 years to make it available to them. This is my
Mm-hmm.
book.
Yes. And I believe this is available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, correct?
Yeah, yes, it is. It is.
Yes. So all our viewers out there, the book is called "The Theory of the Naked Truth of Allah, Muhammad, and the Quran," available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. This is by Dr. Wequar Azeem, and this is actually he wants to share it with you as well. He wants to share the truth to you, and if you are into that, this is the perfect one. Once again, the book is called "The Theory of the Naked Truth of Allah, Muhammad, and the Quran," available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. So thank you so much, Wequar. I've had a lot of fun and learning today. We're at RM Hive. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for helping me put this word out so that people know. Thank you.
And it's our honor to help you as well. So guys, let's open the pages and unravel the secrets of your personal odyssey. And I believe that your ink never runs dry. So go tell your story, storyteller. This is your host, Revan, and as we say it here at Readers Magnet, we share your story with the world. Bye for now. Stay awesome.
Awesome. Bye bye.